What's up, Shoreline? Welcome back to Small Group. It's me, your local youth resident, Andrew Hughes, and I'm so glad that you guys have jumped back in with us tonight as we're going to look back at Paul's first letter to his young leader Timothy as he is leading the church in Ephesus. So, I don't know about you guys, but one of the coolest and most exciting experiences of my high school life is when I got my first car. A lot of you guys, maybe you're later on in high school, you've experienced what this is like. It is amazing. I remember being so excited about the freedom of the open road, go and have fun with friends, play music as loud as I wanted to. It was the best thing ever that I had my own car all of a sudden. So one day as I was driving down the road, something felt a little bit off. The engine was a little bit louder. I started to hear this kind of ticking sound. Something was just wrong. And full honesty, I am not a car person, and I don't really understand how they work sometimes, but I knew that something was wrong, and so decided to go back home, talk to my family about it, and as soon as I got back, they asked me, well, hey, have you changed the oil yet? And in total honesty, after many months of driving, I had not even thought about changing the oil once. It wasn't that I didn't know that I needed to change the oil. I was very aware that I needed to, but in the moment, in the excitement and the rush of suddenly having a new car and things being so exciting and ready to impress my friends, I completely forgot to take care of what was most important to keep the car running, which is that which was under the hood. So in a very similar way, God makes it very clear to people who are wanting to follow him that the most important part about life with God is dealing with the inner parts of your heart. We are seeing currently in this world an epidemic of leaders and believers in our country and in our world that have not dealt with the inner parts of their life, and even though on the outside things look so good, the things that are part of their personal life begin to come out, and we realize that they weren't the person who we thought they were the entire time. More than likely, you have seen this happen around us. We know so many leaders and so many people who we learn about their personal lives, and all of a sudden things aren't the way that they seemed. And this is exactly what Paul is going to begin to address in his letter to Timothy. And guys, if we can catch this will transform the way we think about our walk with Jesus. So Paul is going to begin to address this in 1 Timothy 3, starting in verse 1. Let's read. This saying is trustworthy. If anyone aspires to the office of overseer, he desires a noble task. Therefore, an overseer must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not a drunkard, not violent, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. So some of the characteristics we see here, we see self-controlled, gentle, sober-minded, respectable, hospitable, and a list of other things that specifically have to do with the character and the heart of a leader. So the first point that Paul is going to want us to know is that Christian leaders take care of their heart. Too often in our world, we want a leader that looks exactly like what the world wants, and yet it's not at all what God desires. We want the person who's attractive, charismatic, has a lot of wealth and influence, and has all the power that the world has. And yet this is not the heart of a leader that God would desire for his people. And he makes it very clear that this is not just the characteristics of what he wants for a leader, but he made it clear back all the way near the beginning of our story of the people of God that we are a kingdom of priests, that we are all equipped for the work of ministry. And so it's not just that God would desire this for the people who are in top leadership positions, but that all believers would take care of their heart and look inwardly to follow him well. So the first thing addressed is the heart. And the second thing, although it is still personal, will have to do much more with the relationships that are close to us. So in verse 4, he starts again. He must manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he care for God's church? So the second thing that Christian leaders do is they take care of their home. Now, regardless of what this looks like, whether it's children, siblings, parents, the first and greatest ministry that any believer will ever have is within their own home. Because as Paul makes it clear, if we don't take care of our own home well, we won't know how to take care of God's church well. So if you're like me, you're probably wondering at this point, great, okay, take care of your heart well, take care of your home well. But how do we actually do that? And that's exactly what Paul is going to address as we skip down to verse 16 of chapter 3. Verse 16, great indeed, we confess, is the mystery of godliness. He was manifested in the flesh, vindicated by the Spirit, seen by angels, proclaimed among the nations, believed on in the world, taken up in glory. At the end of the day, we have to come to an understanding that godly qualities in life are, in fact, like Paul says, a mystery. And the reason it's a mystery is because on our own strength, we can never attain it. If the first thing that we think of when we think of managing our heart well and managing our home well are things that we have to do to reach ourselves to God, then we're asking ourselves the wrong question. One pastor even puts it this way, that the Christian life is what you do whenever you realize that on your own you can do nothing. This is the Christian life, that we lay down our faulty brokenness and give ourselves over to Jesus, who uplifts us and gives us the strength to serve and love others well. So about that time, I'm trying to fix my car. By the time we actually took it into the shop and tried to see what was wrong, we learned that it was just too far gone. There was nothing more we could do. We had spent so much time thinking about what was going on the outside that we missed taking care of the most important part, which was on the inside. So listen, if we don't actively submit ourselves and give ourselves to Jesus, this is what's going to happen to our faith. We must continually, every day, remind ourselves of the truth that God loves us. He desires relationship with us. And at the end of the day, we are not the ones that are going to change our own heart, but it has to be God that comes and transforms us into the leaders that He would desire us to be. And now, out of that reality, we have the opportunity to go and to serve and to lead others in the way that God would desire us. So let's go. Let's be the leaders that God would desire us to be, but at the same time remembering that it is God who is going to work through us and not us that is going to work through God. So after looking at this letter to Timothy, we're going to look at a few questions real quick that I would love for you guys to consider as a group. The first question, what would a follower of Jesus look like if they lived like you do? Second question, what do you need to surrender to God to be a more godly leader? And the third, what opportunity do you have right now to serve and lead people? So that's all we've got here in 1 Timothy 3. Go enjoy time with your small group and have a great week of worship.